Steph, how are you, lovely?
Hello, I'm so good. Thank you. How are you?
That is excellent. I am great. We've had lunch. We had some plant-based toasties, which were, look, they were great, but probably not as good as what I would make. So, it filled the spot.
It did.
How
Yes.
has the rest of your day been today?
It's been really good. A very nice, slow morning for me. Not much on. Just came up here to Melbourne and had lunch with you, and now we're here.
Recording a podcast. So I was on your podcast last week. Hasn't come out yet. We
No,
recorded
not yet.
one. And
So technically, no, it hasn't happened yet.
yeah, and we've been following each other for a while on
Yeah.
Instagram, as you do. Thank you, Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And we connected, and then it was 2 weeks ago, and I don't know how or what the actual thing was, but it was like something, and then, hey, do you want to run a meditation at this running group? And I was like, running? I'll do the meditation. And then you were like, I'm walking, and I'm like, yes, I'll come. I'll do that.
Yes.
And yeah, and then I guess that's the first time we met and we caught up and then recorded for your podcast, and then I was like, well, I want you on mine. So here we are.
Here I am.
That's
Yeah.
it. What are you most excited about in life right now?
Oh, I guess, honestly, my energy.
Yep.
I recently went to India and had a few ups and downs while I was there. I got very sick and I ended up being in hospital for 8 days with dengue and typhoid fever. So 2 individual illnesses that are actually fatal in some conditions for people. It felt fatal at some points of that whole journey, but since coming home, I've had chronic fatigue. I've been home for about 2 months now, but I'm really excited this week because my energy's coming back. So, yeah, finally able to string a sentence together and not feel like I have so much brain fog anymore, and, not needing someone to drive me to the supermarket, and don't need to sleep during the day anymore. So, yeah, I'm really excited for that.
There's such a big difference from your energy today to what it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for you. That's so good. But that snowball of everything happening, I'm very intrigued to get into that in everything there. You didn't why did you go to India, and then how did all those things come about?
India had honestly been a plan in my head that was just hadn't been stepped out yet. It was something I was supposed to do in 2017, but unfortunately at the time I had a lot of anxiety. I was living out of home and I used that as an excuse not to go. I need financial security. I need to look after myself. No one's going to look after me. I have to work full time. I won't go to India. And so over the course of the last 2 to 3 years now, I have done so much work on myself and, really helped with my anxiety and, everything else in my life. And it just came to the point where I was like, I'm doing it. This year, I'm going to India. And that's what I was telling myself February last year. And by, I think, June, I had booked it. And by September, I was there.
And then everything happened. Okay, so this is really cool because I know a bit about you. You're recently famous in Geelong. On the, what was it? The
GT magazine.
The GT magazine, which is a great, did you bring one?
It's in the car.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, showcasing your story and I know a bit about it. And but for me and the listeners that don't know much about you, can you give us a wrap up of your life from start to where you are now and everything that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a long story. I will try and give you cliff notes with a little bit of detail here and there, but
you've got 3 minutes. No, you've got as much time as you would like.
Well, okay. So I guess where do I start? I was born and raised in Geelong. I was raised by my mum, and she was a single parent. My dad moved away from Geelong very early in life, so they split up when I was 11 months old. And then, basically was just raised by my mum, and we moved everywhere in Geelong. I've lived in every suburb. That was kind of fun. Went to high school. In high school, I experienced a lot of things that I think a lot of teenagers now are going through. There was a lot of cyberbullying, a lot of just bullying in general, a lot of me not knowing who I was, doing anything to fit in, to be liked, to be accepted. Just a whole lot of I don't know, self-doubt and not a lot of confidence in myself. So I think high school I acted out a lot. I went through a year there, which was year 8, and I mucked up, started smoking, started drinking, doing things that I really shouldn't have been, a lot of lying, a lot of joking around in class, and it was me just trying to feel like I was a part of something. And, I quickly realized back then that just did not sit well with who I was, so I really sort of fixed up that whole image issue that I had, and I really tried to, I don't know, push forward in high school actually doing the best that I possibly can, because I was actually kind of academic, even though I was trying to make everyone think that I wasn't. I was trying to make everyone think that I was a class clown and that I was like super dumb, because that's what the cool kids did back then. But yeah, so I studied heaps in high school, and honestly, it was not my favorite time. People always say, "Oh, would you love to go back?" I'm like, absolutely not. High school's horrible. There's so many issues with girls and with friends and with people talking behind your back, with boys, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I just found that, nearing the end of high school, I experienced a lot of issues with body image. There was a lot of popularity surrounding a lot of weight loss sort of things, a lot of again, no confidence in myself and self-worth. And so I went through a stage there where I went through disordered eating for a long time there.
It's
and
an eating disorder.
I was never diagnosed with anorexia or anything like that, but the weight that I got down to was extremely unhealthy.
Okay.
My hair started falling out. I had anemia. Yeah, it was awful. I was super duper unwell. I was very weak, and yeah, so I managed to get through that and overcome that, and yeah, I guess finished high school, and I was like, I'm going to go to uni. I'm so passionate about, human rights, and I want to work with asylum seekers, and I got into law. And I did 3 weeks of it, and then just said, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to be sitting in a room doing paperwork all the time. And I don't think that this really aligns with who I am. At the time I was experiencing a lot of difficulties in my home life. That instability it made going to university actually really hard. So I was in a situation where I was kicked out of home, and I needed to survive. So I dropped out of university, and I started working full-time in a cafe that I'd been working through high school. And I worked there for about 2 years, and then I studied personal training and thought that I'd get into the fitness industry. It was going to help me, learn a lot about how to make myself healthy and how to do that with others. I went from wanting to do law so that I could help people, and I was like, well, personal training helps people. I can help people reach their goals of fitness. But again, I just didn't have any confidence. So when I finished, I applied for one job. I got rejected, and I guess I was too scared to apply for anything else. So I went back to what I know, and that was working in cafes. Mm-hmm. So living out of home, jumping between lots of houses at this point, and I ended up managing 2 cafes in that time. And I guess in 2017, I really started to focus on my health again. I'd had a lot of ups and downs in my mental health and my physical health, and I started to do an F45 challenge. And it sounds so funny, but it actually really encouraged me to look at the way I was living my life. And so I started to get into the health and wellness sort of world, and decided to go to uni again, and dropped out again. I was studying naturopathy, which I absolutely loved, but it wasn't the right time, wasn't the right place. And I guess I started working as a PT at F45 and getting through that. And then I guess went to India, and I guess there's a few things missing in that story, but that got me to where we are here today. So, yeah.
Whoa. So much to unpack in that, and I didn't know a lot of that, so it's really interesting sitting here. It's funny because when I do interview people, I don't like to know too much about them beforehand. I remember on one with Osher Ginsberg, I read his book the day before and got to him, and I'm like, I know your life story. Like, I need you to say it to me, to the listeners. So for me now, it's like, and we went to lunch before, and it's like, ask certain questions, but not the ones I got to ask on here because like I
Yeah.
want to know it now, which is really cool to hear. So take us back, okay, and probably not where you want to go in your mind, but back to like being in school and going through all those things, high school, tough time, especially now. I would think it's
I would think it's worse for
Yeah.
people now.
I think for me, there wasn't much of that. I was in, my group, the soccer group, and we just kicked a ball all day, every day. There was drama, always. But how did you, so being in high school, having the anxiety, the body image stuff, the groups, the popularity, how did you get through that? What was your mindset like then? Or was it really, really tough at that stage and you didn't know what to do?
High school, like it was extremely tough. It was a really, really rocky like stage. I remember when I came into high school, I'd been very studious in primary school. I came in thinking that it was cool to be that way. And first up, year 7, I just got superiorly bullied. And I realized very quickly that the cool kids weren't smart. And so I really did. I dumbed myself down, like I said before. And yeah, I think it was
Trying to be accepted, yeah.
basically, all I wanted was to be a part of a group. I had friends. That was, not something that I didn't have. It was just more so not feeling connected to something. But yeah, there was an occasion in, I think, year 8 where I'd done something in the school that was a little bit like, oh, made a mistake. And I don't know if you know this, but there was this application online called Formspring. Have you heard of it before?
Mm-mm.
It's where you send people.
We're the same era, so
I know, we're the 1 year
surprised,
apart. Yeah. So you send a anonymous question
Message.
or a message to someone online. Mostly people just give people compliments, but sometimes people would abuse other people through it.
Is this through MySpace or just...
It was a separate web page at
How would
that
they
time.
send it though?
From their computer to like your account, technically.
So you have an account on there?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, sorry. And
I was like, is this through the MSN days? Like,
no, gosh, they were fun
they were
days.
fun.
Yeah. Like log out, log back in.
Waiting for the dial-up to connect.
Oh, that
Mom,
was
my friends are on it this
painful.
time.
Yeah. But unfortunately, something that I went through at that time was a lot of cyberbullying. So I had people messaging me through this platform telling me to kill myself. People that said that there was no use for me to continue living and that I should just kill myself. And at the time, you receive a message like that and your heart literally stops. Like you can't breathe, you shut down. And all of a sudden in your mind, you start thinking, oh my God, everyone must hate me. Everyone in a school must be talking about me, or, this must be what everyone thinks. So there must be really no reason for me to continue on. So I remember thinking to myself, like, there's no way that this can get better. I won't be able to move forward from this. So I had thoughts of committing suicide at age 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was told to see a school counsellor, and, that was really good. Loved to do that. That was, my little time to just like muck around with them and sort of chat with them. It was really good. But I got through that stage and I just realised that a lot of the behaviours that I was exhibiting were things that I wasn't proud of. They didn't correlate with my values. I didn't want to be seen as that person. And so I did this like personality overhaul. I really tried to stop doing the behaviors that I wasn't proud of. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I decided to change. I was like, really focused on like being liked by everyone, And then I was like, well, I don't like myself. So why am I bothering? I'm becoming someone I don't like. So I really just started to be the person that I wanted to be, speak to everyone in the school, try and, include everyone, make everyone feel welcome in my company, and treat people the way that I wanted to be treated. And that really worked really well for me, moving forward. And I was able to get through that stage. But yeah, it was tough while I was going through it.
And I love this conversation, not that it happened to you, but love talking about this because it's, for example, like what that would do to your self-worth, crazy. And we'll obviously get into how it's then come to how you are now, and if that still affects you now. But in that moment of those people saying those things, like, to me, I don't get why I would never say that to anyone. But I have had friends experience that. I remember in high school, my first, I guess, experience with bullying, not on me, but it was on other people. I don't know. I just grew up having a brother that was picked on a lot for having cerebral palsy. Made me very aware that people are different, and they're human. Still, that's fine not to pick on people. Like, I tried to be as nice as I could. Never got into fights. I think I got into one. They kicked my soccer ball away. But
Oh no.
really, it was like try and. It was always a thing. My parents were like, be nice to other people. But it was I never seen or heard stuff so direct like that. I don't know this platform. I maybe it was around. Obviously, it was around when I was in school, but I never. Yeah, and to hear a lot of the stuff I hear now, and to experience, there was a lot that happened when I just lived in Mildura of teenagers attempting and successfully attempting, and that breaks my heart. Like, it doesn't break it. It breaks my heart that it was so common, and it breaks my heart that why do kids still do that? Now, how you said like you kind of moved through that, was there? Obviously, you had thoughts of that. What made you not do it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the support from my school counsellor definitely was a big part of it. I also then think that I was very aware of other stories where I'd heard of how families react and how it affects them so much. And I sort of just knew that I couldn't do that, and that's my decision. And I think that's how I sort of overcame it. I didn't have a lot of like support or understanding in the home, so I wasn't really relying on anyone. I was sort of just getting through that by myself. But yeah, I think I'm sort of proud of my ability to sort of find strength in dark moments and to prevail. Like, I think that's one quality that I like. And yeah, I just think, getting through that was like a big thing. It's obviously why I'm very passionate now about talking about mental health and opening up about it. And that's only just one very small slither of why. But yeah, I feel for kids now because they're in the cyber generation. It's only going to get worse from here. And I think before you mentioned, like, why do you think people do it still? And it's just to feel accepted. People want to look cool to other people, Kids, they just don't think. They say things that are really hurtful, and yeah, it can be really damaging.
Do you actually think it's getting worse?
I do. Like, I think that there are a lot of laws now that really like prohibit against it, but I know that I have cousins, younger children in the family, like they have fake accounts on things so their parents can't see it, and there are children messaging each other on other accounts, and it's all getting very tangled and confused. And I think the web of it will just continue to grow, I think.
Do you think the awareness and the education is improving?
Hell yes. Definitely. I think schools would be very onto that, and the more awareness there is, the better.
Do you feel that will counteract, though? How the worsening?
I think hopefully, but I do believe that like getting into children's minds at an early age and instilling their self-worth into them at a young age is actually very important in sort of being able to deal with a bullying encounter. So if you were here to tell me that, Steph, your life means nothing, and I was kind of like, well, actually, I know that I'm worth something. My mum loves me and she says that I'm a good boy or good girl. And so I'm not going to listen to what that person says. So I think that's really important as well, is teaching kids those behaviors too.
I love that. And it's something where in my story where it was like my soccer coach and manager at the time, agent, was like, you're never going to be a soccer player. You're not good enough. Go home. And it was crushing at the time, but it was also like, you're one person after 2 weeks of like being heartbroken and crying. that's one person. I've had so many people tell me I'm good. I'll go to the next team type thing. New agent, which is a whole different podcast, but we won't go down that path. What do you feel like you're living your purpose?
Right now, I do. I think, you know, whatever our purpose is, it's very different for everyone. Everyone has a different definition of purpose. But I think for me, as long as I'm living according to my values every single day, I'm always putting them in the forefront of my mind before I make any decision, before I treat anyone a certain way, before I make a shopping decision. As long as I'm doing that, then I will be living my purpose, because I know I'm here to serve, I'm here to give and help, and I know that I'm actively trying to do that every single day because that's what my values tell me to do.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Values are like a huge part of everything I teach. So the fact that you're aware of that to then live in accordance to them, that's your own fulfillment in those things. What is success to you?
See, for me, success just has nothing to do with money. It's not about, having the biggest car, computer, whatever other people buy. I guess I'm really foreign to that because that just did not come to my mind. But that's not success for me. Success is sort of like knowing that I've made an impact on people's lives, that I've been able to help people, to offer them and provide them value. Like, that's success for me. Mm-hmm. I don't need them to know my name, or I don't need them to, scream it from the rooftops. I just need to know that, like, I've left a tiny little mark on this world and that it's been for the good of the world.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I can see that through what you're doing right now and everything you plan to do, which we've spoken about.
We've got so many plans this year.
Yeah. So tell us about your podcast and why you do that and what it's about.
Yeah. So I run the Plant-Based Body podcast, and initially that was simply because my branding is Plant-Based Body on Instagram. That was an identity that I created for myself because I went plant-based and I started a new healthy lifestyle and I wanted to document it. Yep. So that's what the Instagram started off with. And, the podcast came as sort of like another arm of that. And basically, it's me interviewing guests and, people like yourself, people that I find like really inspiring, people that have a really amazing story. And to be honest and quite frank with you, it has nothing to do with being plant-based. Some of my episodes are very nutrition-based. Some of them I do talk to people who have a plant-based lifestyle, but there is a strong underlying theme of mental health in my podcasts. It's something that I hold so dear to me. And if I can continue to raise awareness about it through every platform that I have, well, then I'm happy.
I love that. And that's your impact in what you're doing. What's the worst thing that has ever happened to you, and how is that the best thing that has ever happened to you?
I'm going to be completely honest with you, and like for the listeners, for the people that listen to this and are a little bit hurt by what I'm about to say, I do apologize in advance, but this is simply just me recalling the way that my reality was back in the past, and this is my story. When I was about 17, my mum was going through a lot. She was undergoing a lot of mental health issues. She was very unwell, and I have like the deepest compassion for what she was going through at that stage of her life. I really, really do. But basically, the relationship that I had with her was very rocky while I was growing up. It wasn't one where I felt very loved or very cared for. She provided the things that I needed to sustain my life, to keep a roof over my head, the things that I needed for school, all of that sort of thing. But, through deep inner work, I've sort of realized that there was a lot that relationship wasn't meeting for me. And throughout my life, I was scared of her. The way that she would yell at me, call me names, have really nasty things to say about me. It really hurt me. But a lot of me just wanted her approval in everything that I did. Everything that I really did was constantly just sort of, trying to find that love from her. But unfortunately, at this stage, when I was 17, she she was going through a really tough time, and she was suicidal, and she would tell me about it, and I didn't know what to do. I was not at a stage in my life where my mental health was in a good place. I didn't know how to help an adult with theirs. You know, I was going through all of my eating disorder stuff. I was being challenged by a boyfriend in a relationship at home, and I think at 17 I just really didn't have the capacity to help in the way that I really, really yearned to. You know, she would tell me that if it wasn't for her dog, she would have killed herself already. And that just defined the relationship that we had, pretty much, is that, like, I knew that I wasn't her priority in life. And that was really tough, being raised by a single mother who, like, I didn't feel like I was ever enough for. So to me, at that stage, she told me that she could no longer look after me, and have me live in the home with her. And so I went and I lived with my nan for the year 12. And so I finished out my schooling there, and I'm so close with my nan and her partner John. They're my angels. They always have been throughout my life. And yeah, so I guess my mum did a lot of work on herself and got her mental health back on track. But I just remember knowing that what I went through in that period of my life, and having my parent say that to me, knowing that I was someone that only ever wanted to help people, wanted to do human rights law. I wanted to just help everyone. Like, I'm a giver. I just want to serve. But the one person that I couldn't help was her. And still to this day, like, it rocks me, to be honest with you. Even through all the work that I've done. But I think that being through that experience, and, you know, I'm so grateful she didn't go through with that. That it could have been completely different, and I'm so happy that she got the help that she needed, because I'm so glad that I never had to go through that pain of her actually doing what she was threatening to do. But that sort of thing, it leaves a mark. You know, you blame yourself a little bit. You know, was I the reason that she wanted to do it? Or, you know, so many things run through your head. And I guess now that's why, after going through my own mental health issues, I have so much understanding of where she was at that stage. And now that's why I'm so passionate about talking about that through the platforms that I have, and letting people know that it is not weak to speak. You know, knowing that going to a psychologist is actually just the same as trusting in a personal trainer with your fitness, as it is to trust them with your mind and guiding you to your goals of, like, self-awareness. So I guess that was probably one of the worst things that I've ever been through. But I guess now it's created this sort of, like, I guess in a way, a little bit of a purpose for me, is, like, enable others to not feel that way. Yeah.
Whoa. How did you get to a place of, through that, having one of the most important people in your life not accept you, not show that love to you? How'd you get to a place where you feel that for yourself? How do people get to that place if they've felt something similar?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think, you know, throughout my life, I didn't feel that. You know, I obviously really didn't. And I didn't know my self-worth. I didn't value myself. So I was making decisions based around that, you know.
Such as?
In relationships, accepting, you know, behaviors from boyfriends that you just simply shouldn't tolerate. You know, I accepted the love that I thought I deserved, pretty much. And yeah, I guess when you grow up with someone who, like, openly shows you love and, like, you know, treats you how you're supposed to be treated, or, you know, just, like, gives you that feeling of, like, stability, then you sort of have, like, more of a knowing of yourself. I feel like I grew up with, my dad was never around. He lived in Melbourne, and when I did see him, wasn't interested in talking to me. It was just ticking the box on something he had to do every second weekend. And my mum constantly went through different boyfriends trying to find love because that's what she needed from her childhood, you know? I understand that now, but I think I had to actually unpack all of that and actually realize why my mother perhaps treated me in the way she did, understand where it was coming from for her, why that was then affecting me. And to be honest with you, I actually had to go see a psychologist and to sit and peel back all the layers to get to where my core pain was coming from. And from there, I realized, oh, wow, like, you know, I might feel like I'm not enough, but that's simply because of my environment, from what I was raised from. But I'm actually capable of moving forward and actually creating my own story. And I don't need to play the victim in that life or that story that had happened to me. And so I guess I just decided to, you know, like, fuck, I'm worthy. You know, it doesn't matter what I look like, or, you know, like, I actually am worthy. It was just this massive, like, I don't know, epiphany that I had. And I guess to the listeners, like, my recommendation is fucking oath, like, do the work, you know, go see someone, go and talk to a coach, do anything, like, peel back your layers. I didn't know that I had all of that shit sitting in there. I didn't know that that's why I was letting people treat me like crap. But when I started to do the work, it was like something was lifted off me. I could accept myself for who I was, you know, and I think only ever through that are we able to move forward and be the person we actually want to be without carrying our baggage in this big Santa sack behind us, dragging it along the ground as just weight that is so unnecessary.
We can accept, forgive, let go.
Yeah.
What about if someone, how does someone know that they're at that point where they maybe want to do is it being aware that I'm not getting the results that I want, I don't like who I am, I need to start doing something different, like reaching out, like seeing someone?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people sometimes have this, like, mentality, oh my God, like, I just don't like the things that are happening in my life. You know, I'm unhappy in my job, I'm unhappy in my work, I'm unhappy in my relationship. And when you feel that unhappiness, like, you start to think, how do I make this better? Like, I need to feel something other than this misery, you know? I think when you hit that point, people start to look for a little bit of, like, all right, like, I need to do something. Like, how do I do this? And I guess that's where, like, podcasts and books are really handy, and, you know, coaches and all that sort of stuff. I think it's not a rock bottom moment that leads you to be like, okay, I'm gonna find my better self. It doesn't need to be that. It's just like, I'm simply unhappy in this situation, but I don't need to sit in that shit. I can actually make this better by doing the work.
I think it's taking assessment of your life, and that's the best form of self-love, of self-worth, is going, am I happy in these areas of my life? And if I'm not, do something about it. If we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always gotten. I think there's a more simple way of putting that, but that was a long way of saying it, that if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you are, and this is something that I found, this is why I created the programs I created, was because I found so many people that where I was a couple of years ago, I didn't like who I was and I didn't like the life I was living. And it's a very unfortunate thing to be blessed with a life, but then to not like who you are.
Exactly.
Or the life you've been given.
But we're also in the driver's seat. So we have every means in our power to turn that steering wheel and get into another lane.
Yeah.
That is something that we're very, very capable of doing. I've been in situations, living in houses, where I've been being in behaviors that are not serving me. Smoking, drinking, doing drugs, all these types of things. I didn't like that part of myself, doing those things all the time. I was heading down a rabbit hole. I had the power to switch lanes and turn myself into what I'm in now. It's all up to you.
And I love how you mentioned that you touched on you can do all the external things, but if you don't do the work, it's not going to change. Like you can go buy the new car, you can go, I'm going to move cities, I'm going to go to this new gym, I'm going to buy this new dress, or whatever it may be. It's not going to change what's on the inside, and that's what we need to focus on.
Exactly. It's very easy to go and buy a new pair of activewear and be like, oh, I'm fit now. But actually, you're the same person that you were before, just with a different layer on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, like I was saying before, and something that you really talk about all the time is doing the work, finding that pain, that trauma. I'm sorry, it's messy and it's super ugly and it hurts to do it, and you're going to cry. You will. But I've never felt more myself now that I know myself. Like, I know what my triggers are, what makes me tick, what things that maybe don't sit well with me still because of things that happened to me in the past. But that enables me to now like look at my life a lot more clearer. And yeah, I've never felt better in myself.
By finding out what you don't like and things that don't sit well with you, you now know what to look for that you do want.
Yeah.
You got clarity. You have confidence to then create the life that you want to create, which I love. And again, it aligns with a lot of stuff that I do and that I talk about, because we're on that path, and we're by no means at a perfect stage or this is it. It's a continuous thing. We all have shit to layers to go through, and I thought I'd gone through all my layers, and I was like, yeah, I'm conscious, Carlo. It's all done. I don't have to do anything else. Something else comes up, and it's like, okay, accept that we're humans and we're supposed to feel the ups, the downs, the good, the bad. That's the human experience. The more that you have fun with that game and play that game of I'm going to do the work and keep growing, the more you're going to discover those things that you really want.
It really is a long-term commitment to yourself, because you don't just unpack something, be like, wow, I've acknowledged it, I'm aware of it, and then it never comes up again. No, that's not true. When you're like when you least expect it, that thing can rise up for you again. But this time, you're more aware, you're more equipped on how to handle that, and you will handle it better. But throughout your life, you don't just like suddenly become perfect and healed. It's an ongoing journey, and that's the best thing about self-improvement, is that there's always more work to be done.
Long-term commitment. Stop trying to take the free 5-day trial and expect to be to have the body, to have the mindset that you want in 5 days, or the get rich overnight scheme. It doesn't work like that. And I think once we accept that, we can then accept the journey and start the journey. I love that. What is the best advice you've ever been given?
Yes. So I have a beautiful friend, Kim, and I'm not sure where she heard this from or if this was actually something that she came up with herself. It wouldn't surprise me because she's just so gorgeous. But she once said to me, she said, make your garden so beautiful that everyone who passes by will want a flower from it. And to me, in my head, that means stop trying to, outwardly reach for things or wonder like, why aren't these things happening for me? I'm doing this, and this, but nothing's coming to me. The thing about like working on your garden is like working on yourself, making sure that you're living in alignment with yourself, that you are, like we said before, living according to those values that are so important to you. Just keep working on yourself. Make sure that you feel good when you treat other people good. Just constantly working on you, and you'll watch the people who are around you, the people who will gravitate towards that new version of yourself, the one that is constantly working on themselves and being the better version of themselves. People will come to you. They will want a part of that. And I loved that. And I took that on board and I started doing that. And the things that came to me were just crazy.
So doing the work on yourself, and that will inspire people around you.
Yeah, well, I just think obviously it's a little bit of your vibe attracts your tribe scenario as well, and when you're around those people, you're going to feel more inspired, more passionate to continue doing those things that you love as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we look at the people that inspire us, it's because they're doing that. They're being them. And that's what inspires us to go, I want to be more like that in the terms of being myself and feeling that way. It's not to copy them, or to be like them, it's to be like us. And that's what then unlocks everything for us. What advice would you give your 16-year-old Steph self?
Definitely accept yourself the way that you are. We've talked a lot about the fact that I didn't know my worth. I didn't think that I was good enough. And that affected my weight. I thought that if I was skinnier, that people would think I was worthy, that I was beautiful. And I went through this massive stage of just battling with my appearance. My big ego that was like, you need to wear eyeliner, you need to be skinny, you need to not eat, you need to do all these things, exercise all the time. No, love yourself the way that you are. Accept yourself the way that you are. I'm an Italian girl with thick, frizzy hair. Rock that and love that. You know, I have a small waist, but really thick thighs and a big butt. And I hated that. But now I just want to tell myself, fucking love that. Like, just accept that. You know, I learned something over the course of the last few years. It's that your appearance means jack shit if you're a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Went through a stage where I had severe acne, boils like all over my face. And you know what? As self-conscious as I was about that, as much as I thought people were going to judge me and not like me for looking like that, to be honest, if I still treated them with the same care that I always did, with the kindness, and showed up for them, they didn't care what I looked like. And that resonated into every part of my life. I started to realize that my weight didn't actually matter to anyone else but me. They weren't going to like me more if I weighed 10 kilos less. It had nothing to do with that. If I was that good person, none of that mattered. So if I could go back to my 16-year-old self and just tell her that, just be who you are and accept who you are, then that's all that matters.
So powerful, that acceptance. Once you have that self-acceptance, how much better that feels after that. So great advice to your 16-year-old self.
Thanks.
How can people become more fulfilled in life?
I think I don't know, as a world, as a population, I don't want to generalize, but I think we have these huge expectations. I want this, I need money, I want this car, I want to do all of these things. So we're constantly like striving for something and reaching for it.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing is that when we get it, we're not fulfilled, we're not happy, and we're suddenly just reaching for something else without even appreciating that moment and like having gratitude for actually like achieving what we in the past wanted to achieve and we're living in right now. So I guess the way that we can feel more fulfilled is to actually just try and remove some of these expectations of ourselves. You know, I should have gone to uni, I need to go to uni, or I need to earn more money. Like all of that stuff is actually just causing us unnecessary stress. It's actually not allowing us to live in the now and in the present moment. We're constantly living in the future. I believe that to feel more fulfilled, we really need to just take that hat off, those expectations, put that in the back seat of the car that we're driving, because this is the metaphor we're running with in this podcast.
Or driving with, yeah.
Or driving with, exactly. And yeah, I feel like so much more fulfillment can come from that because we're not always chasing something. We can just be happy and with what we've got now and be grateful for what we've got now.
Being grateful, being present.
Yes, two of my favorite things and like things that I harp on about a lot on my Instagram. I think my poor people would just be so sick of me by now, just like, oh guys, it's okay, let's just be grateful.
Yeah, that's mine too. It's like this whole gratitude push, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep drilling it into people's heads until you figure it out, and you do. My free program. on how to express gratitude deeply, because then it's honestly a life changer for me. Ever since that happened, as I said in your
Yes,
podcast.
I was going to say, if you would like to learn more about it, you can jump on over to the Plant-Based Body podcast where I talked to Carlo about it. Cheeky plug.
It'll be up by the
Yes.
time this is up. So,
Look, just touching on gratitude, Carlo, honestly, there was a time in my life, maybe last year, where things really, they started to fall and crash down.
is this back from India?
No, prior to India,
Prior, yeah.
actually. And I was sitting in a bit of a pity party. Again, my mental health just crashed. I was spending a lot of time in my bedroom. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I would ignore text messages, phone calls. I would watch Netflix all day, hide away from the world. I didn't really want to exist at that point. And a friend of mine just sort of said to me, Steph, you have to be grateful for the things you do have. Yeah, you're going through something really, really shitty. But if you can turn it around and just give me like 3 things that you were grateful for in this day, then you're going to feel so much better for it. And ever since she told me that, that's just stayed in the forefront of my mind in everything that I do every single day. Like, I'll be out with someone and I'll have like such a genuine connection. And in my head, I just say to myself, holy shit, I'm so grateful for this moment right now. Or with a friend, Kobe and I, what we do is we genuinely go and we sit and we look at the ocean and we say to each other, all right, tell me 3 things that you're grateful for today. And it's just like an instant day builder.
Mm-hmm.
It got me out of this really dark time and allowed me to appreciate what I do have. Because a lot of the time we get stuck in the things that we don't have and the bad things that are happening to us. And that's actually not healthy for us. So once we start thinking more lighter, more positive, focusing on gratitude, then your life really does get better.
I love it. It's like it's stuff that I love teaching, but I
Yeah.
love that your perspective on it as well, because it gives like a different view on it, and it's so powerful. Guys, practice your gratitude. If you don't have them now, pause this,
Yes.
or take this time to think about things that you're grateful for.
Yep.
Look, however you do it your way. But if you want to practice it on a deep level, contact me. How can people find their purpose?
You know, there are so many ways. I have actually myself done some activities before to help me find my purpose. There are some amazing books by people that you can sit, write down your strengths, your weaknesses, where you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, things that matter the most to you, what you want from your life. I've done these things many times before, and the ultimate goal is to figure out what bloody direction to go in. I also think that it's okay to not know what your purpose is. It's okay to be a little bit confused and a little bit worried. We're living in a generation of so much choice. There is so much that we can do, and we have so much option. That's actually something that we can be really grateful for, is that we're living in an abundant world, in an abundant situation where I could be and live any purpose that I choose. So I think, again, let's remove that little expectation from ourselves that we need a purpose in life. Because I think naturally your purpose shows up in front of your face without you even noticing.
Stuff that you're really good at, that you enjoy doing, that lights you up.
Yeah.
Bing, bing, bing.
Ding, 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 guys. That's pretty much it.
So what impact do you want to have on people, the community, and the world?
I guess a lot of the work that I do is normalizing things, talking about things that people don't really want to talk about, talking about the dark times, talking about the things that are pretty gross and ugly that happen to the human body. My impact that I want to make is just letting people know that they're not alone. It sounds very cliche and something that a lot of people do talk about, but it's something that's very important to me. And so many times in my life, I've felt like so alone, and I've not wanted to move forward. We've talked about this. But if I can tell one person out there something about my life and they go, whoa, that happens to me. I feel that way. And they go, oh, wow, okay, so like I'm not really super weird or I'm not crazy or that's so important to me. And that's the only impact I need to make. Yeah.
I love it. How can people find you? How can people connect with you and see all your goodness and light and everything?
So they can find me on Instagram at the moment at plantbasedbody __, or they can log into Spotify or the iTunes podcast app and search the Plant Based Body podcast. I would say keep your eye on that because there will be a lot of changes coming in the future, but I will do everything notifying everyone in advance of what future movements are to happen.
Which is exciting. My last question is, what is consciousness to you?
I think consciousness is just, it's like being woke. It's a word that I'm not sure we're
Woke
allowed to use,
AF.
but it's being aware of your surroundings, being aware of yourself, being aware of how the words that you say affect other people, how your behavior affects other people. And it's being aware of colors, body language. That's me being conscious. I'm in this moment. I'm super aware of everything that's happening and I can logically and rationally make decisions because I'm conscious. I think that's what consciousness means to me.
I love it. Awesome. I like to wrap up these conversations with saying that I appreciate you and your time and for spending so much time with us today, but sharing so much realness. Like, that's a very vulnerable side to you that I have not yet heard. And I do look and listen to your stuff. Obviously not clear enough if you've shared this before, but to be able to share that with us is like, it makes me feel good inside because one, I get to know you more so I can connect with you more, but also I'm sure there's so many people that listen to this that get so inspired from relating to that story. And I see that you're just such a pure, beautiful soul trying to do good things for yourself, but that just ripple effects onto other people. So acknowledging you as the leader that you are, for constantly doing the work and showing up is massive, and so much respect for that. But also our friendship and the time we've spent together is really special, and I'm so grateful for you and for having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Honestly, I'm very touched by those words, and I feel so connected to you, and I just, want you to know that I'm very happy to be in your circle and to just have you and your amazing vibes and your conscious crew. Just, yeah, I feel very blessed. So thank you for having me today.
You're so welcome. And guys, if you're listening or watching and anything in this has resonated with you, triggered you, inspired you, please reach out. I'm sure Steph is the same as me, where we want to connect with people. All right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, reach out. We're always happy to have a chat. Again, if something has inspired you, let us know. We like that feedback. We need to know this so that we know we're impacting the way we want to. But also take a screenshot, put it on your story, share it with someone you know that this could benefit. That's how we improve the lives of the people around us. We share that information. If you keep it, amazing. But if you can share it with someone that's currently going through something, even more amazing. So I appreciate you guys, and until next time, peace.